Today, we're diving into a really wild theory about why our world feels so completely divided. It comes from an author named Mark Macy, and his explanation, well, it goes way, way beyond anything you're probably expecting.
You know that feeling, right? You're scrolling online or you just flick on the news, and it just seems like everything is fracturing. Like we're all breaking off into these opposing camps that can't even talk to each other anymore. It feels like it's everywhere.
But what if the reason for all this isn't what we think it is? The author we're looking at today, Mark Macy, he argues that to really understand what's happening now, we have to look past the day-to-day politics and travel back billions of years into a past we never knew we had. So first, let's just lay out the problem that we all see. Societies all over the world are feeling this intense pressure, this polarization that seems to be pulling everyone apart. Now you'll hear experts point to all the usual suspects: divisive leaders, media that just pours gasoline on the fire, the huge gap between the rich and poor. And those things are real. But this author asks a bigger question. Are those the actual root causes, or are they just symptoms of something much, much older? And this is where his whole theory just takes a sharp left turn. He makes the case that the real fight isn't political, it's genetic. He says it's an ancient conflict that's literally woven into our DNA from a prehistoric past that, trust me, you did not learn about in history class. Okay, so let's just walk through this timeline, because this is his specific version of our ancient history. He suggests that 4 billion years ago, these godlike people from a planet called Eden came to Earth. But then their homeworld was destroyed, leaving them stranded here. Over time, some of their descendants formed this scrappy, tough culture we know as Atlantis, which was then also wiped out in a massive flood. So, that whole backstory, it sets up the main event in the author's theory. He believes that every single one of us carries the genetic blueprint of these two ancient and totally opposite cultures, the peaceful, nurturing folks from Eden and the tough, survival-driven people of Atlantis. And this really breaks down those two competing instincts he says are inside all of us. On one hand, you have the Eden qualities, wanting to take care of the planet, spread knowledge, talk things out, help people. But then you have the Atlantis qualities, seeing the world as a dangerous place, valuing strength and fighting, following the rules, and protecting your own freedom at all costs. Does any of that sound familiar? So for this author, the political fights we have today, they aren't new at all. He believes they're just the modern-day echo of this ancient internal war between our Eden side and our Atlantis side. But wait, there's more. As if an ancient genetic war wasn't enough, the author proposes that this whole thing is being cranked up to 11 by a massive, invisible spiritual battle that's happening all around us. And get this, the author says this quote comes from a message he received back in 1996 from what he calls ethereal beings. And this idea, this clash between light and darkness, is the foundation for this second half of his theory. Okay, so to get what he means, we have to understand two big ideas in his work. The first one is what he calls life energy, or light. He describes it as this positive cosmic energy that comes from a central source and basically fuels everything good, like love, joy, and understanding. And on the flip side, you have the force he calls Earth's spiritual shadow, or darkness. He pictures this as a kind of toxic fog around our planet that blocks out that good energy and instead leads to things like hate, exhaustion, and just plain misery. So how does this cosmic tug-of-war actually affect us down here? Well, according to the author, it lines up almost perfectly with our political divides. He says people who are more in tune with that life energy feel driven to solve problems and help people who are suffering. And folks who are more agitated by the shadow tend to want strong leaders who can impose strict law and order. And he says most of us are stuck somewhere in the middle, feeling that pull from both sides. Whew, okay, so an ancient genetic feud and a cosmic war between light and dark. It is a lot to take in, which brings us to the most important question, right? What in the world is any one person supposed to do about all that? Well, the author's solution isn't political at all. It's personal. He lays out these 3 steps to find your own peace in the middle of all the chaos. First, he says, you have to acknowledge that source of life energy as the only thing that's truly real. Second, start to see all the drama here on Earth as mostly temporary illusions. And third, you actively try to connect with that source, using things like meditation. And that's really the heart of his advice. It's not about your side winning the fight or proving the other side wrong. The real goal is personal. It's about rising above the drama by calming the conflict inside your own head, which makes the outside conflict have less power over you. Which leaves us with this one big, final question that really sums up this author's entire idea. What if all our arguments about politics are just the very tip of the iceberg, just the surface of a much older, much deeper conflict that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time? It's a wild thought, and it definitely makes you look at the world a little differently. Thanks for tuning in.